The night my marriage ended, it wasn't loud. There was no screaming, no plates thrown, no doors slammed. There wasn't some dramatic confession or a tearful admission of guilt. It ended in the quietest, most peaceful room in our house, my daughter's bedroom. It ended with the soft glow of a unicorn nightlight casting shadows on the wall. It ended with a story about her day. I was tucking my 7-year-old daughter, Lily, into bed. It was our ritual, the calm anchor at the end of my often chaotic days. I'd smooth her blankets, kiss her forehead, and she'd tell me a secret or a story, something meant just for me. But on this night, she looked up at me with her wide, innocent brown eyes I thought I knew as well as my own, and said 7 words that felt like they stopped my heart, 7 words that shattered the world I thought I lived in. She said, "Mommy's friend Mark helps her feel better." A strange thing for a 7-year-old to say, maybe, but it was the casual, innocent way she said it that sent a spike of ice right through my veins. I asked her, trying to keep my voice light, "Oh yeah, feel better from what, sweetie?" She snuggled deeper under her covers and murmured, her voice getting sleepy, "Her tummy aches. He makes them go away." And just like that, the first thread of a carefully woven lie began to unravel, exposing a wound so deep it would tear my life, my family, and my identity completely apart. This story is the most difficult one I've ever had to tell. If you find value in raw, personal narratives, please consider subscribing to the channel. It lets me know that sharing these experiences matters and ensures you won't miss another Nightfall narrative. Those 7 words were just the beginning. The truth was a cancer, and my daughter's innocent sentence was the diagnosis. Before that night, if you'd asked me to describe my life, I would have used words like lucky, stable, happy. My wife, Sarah, and I had been married for 10 years. We were college sweethearts who had built a life that looked, from the outside, like a dream come true. We had a modest but beautiful home in a quiet suburban neighborhood, 2 cars in the driveway, and a golden retriever who was more of a furry rug than a guard dog. And of course, we had Lily. Lily was the sun my world orbited around. From the moment she was born, I was utterly captivated. I was the dad who volunteered for field trips, the dad who learned how to French braid from YouTube tutorials, the dad who built a 2-story dollhouse from scratch for her 5th birthday. My life with Sarah and Lily was my masterpiece. It was everything I had ever wanted. Our marriage, like any long-term relationship, had its rhythms. We had moved past the fiery, and keep your hands off each other phase and settled into a comfortable, warm partnership. Or so I believed. We were a team. I worked a demanding but rewarding job in finance, which often meant long hours. Sarah had been a teacher but stopped working when Lily was born to be a full-time mom. We had an arrangement that seemed to work perfectly. I was the provider, she was the nurturer. We respected each other's roles. We were, I thought, 2 pillars holding up the same beautiful roof. Looking back, of course, the signs were there. Hindsight is a cruel kind of torture, a spotlight that illuminates all the red flags you walked right past in the dark. There was the way her phone, once left casually on the kitchen counter, was now always in her pocket or face down beside her. There were the book club nights that seemed to happen more and more often, usually on the same nights I had to work late. There was a new interest in her appearance, new clothes, a different perfume, a gym membership she used religiously. At the time, I rationalized all of it. I was proud of her for taking more time for herself. "You deserve it," I'd say, genuinely happy that she was finding new hobbies and friendships. The emotional distance, I chalked it up to the stress of parenting and the monotony that can creep into a long marriage. The dip in intimacy, we were tired, we were busy, we'd get it back. I told myself these things because the alternative was unthinkable. The idea that the foundation of my entire world was fractured, was just too terrifying to even consider. And so, I existed in a state of blissful, willful ignorance. I saw a wife who was simply rediscovering herself, not one who was building a secret, separate life. The tummy aches Lily mentioned. Sarah had been complaining of vague stomach issues for months. She'd seen doctors who could find nothing wrong. She'd say it was stress or a food intolerance. It never once occurred to me that tummy ache was a code word in a language of deceit I didn't even know was being spoken in my own home. My wife was a brilliant liar. She built a narrative of a happy marriage so perfectly that I, the man who slept next to her every night, was its most devoted believer. My contentum. Ent was the anesthesia that kept me from feeling the surgery being performed on my life without my consent. After Lily fell asleep, I walked out of her room feeling like I was moving through water. The air in the hallway felt thick and heavy. Each step was a conscious effort. The 7 words just echoed in my mind, replaying on a loop. Mommy's friend Mark helps her feel better. Mark, I knew a Mark. He was the husband of one of Sarah's friends, a guy we'd had over for barbecues a few times. He was a personal trainer. The pieces clicked into place with a sickening metallic snap. The gym membership. The sudden dedication to fitness. Mark's a great motivator, she'd said once, laughing it off. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a frantic, trapped bird. The initial shock started to fade, replaced by a cold, creeping dread. I walked into our bedroom. Sarah was already in bed, scrolling on her phone. She looked up and smiled, the same easy, beautiful smile she always had. "Hey, you, was she good?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time I felt like I was looking at a stranger. That smile didn't reach her eyes. It was a mask. And I was suddenly, terrifyingly aware that I had no idea who the person behind it was. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to hold up Lily's innocent words like a weapon, but I couldn't. Some instinct for self-preservation took over. If I were wrong, I'd shatter her trust. If I was right, I needed proof. An accusation without proof is just a fight. Proof would be a final judgment. That night, I didn't sleep. I just lay there next to her, pretending, my mind racing. The next morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in years. As soon as Sarah left to take Lily to school and then head to the gym, my search began. It felt sordid and shameful, like a betrayal in itself. I was a spy in my own home. Her laptop was the first place I looked. It was password protected, but I thought I knew the password. It had always been a combination of our anniversary and Lily's birthday. I typed it in. Incorrect password. I tried again. Nothing. A cold sweat broke out on my forehead. When had she changed it, and why? I tried a few more combinations, panic rising with each failed attempt. Then, on a whim, I tried Mark Lily 2015. Access granted. The screen opened, and my breath caught in my throat. It was like seeing the name of your own disease in black and white. My hands were shaking so badly that I could barely control the mouse. I didn't even know where to start. I opened her email. Nothing obvious. I checked her browser history. Deleted. Then I remembered something she'd said months ago about our family phone plan, how we could check data usage online. With trembling fingers, I logged into our provider's website. And there it was, a digital roadmap of her betrayal. The phone records were a revelation. For the last 6 months, one number appeared over and over again. Hundreds of calls, thousands of text messages. I'm not talking about a few texts a day. I'm talking about a constant, unrelenting stream of communication. Texts sent at 7 a.m. calls were made at midnight when she claimed to be asleep next to me. A call log showed they spoke for over an hour on our 10th anniversary, while I was at work planning a surprise dinner for her. I did a reverse lookup on the number. It belonged to Mark. The sheer volume was staggering. It painted a picture not of a casual friendship, but of an entire second life. This wasn't a flirtation, this was a relationship. As I scrolled through months of records, a timeline of her lies took shape. The book club nights lined up with long calls to his number. The girls' weekends were followed by a flurry of texts. It was all there, laid out in neat, undeniable columns of dates and times. But I needed more. The records showed contact, but not content. I felt a darkness growing in me, a hunger for the whole ugly truth. That night, when she was in the shower, I took her phone. My hands felt clumsy and alien as I navigated to her messages. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure she could hear it over the running water. She had been deleting their conversations, but she'd missed one. Just one from that afternoon. "Mark, can't stop thinking about this morning. You're intoxicating." "Sarah, you're going to get me in trouble. But it was worth it. I just wish we didn't have to hide." Reading those words was a physical blow. The air left my lungs, the room actually tilted. This wasn't just an emotional affair. The phrase "this morning" confirmed my worst fear. It was physical, happening in my town while I was at work while my daughter was at school. The lies were one thing. The image of her with him in a hotel room, his car, his house asterisk, was a different kind of agony. It was a violent desecration of everything I thought our marriage stood for. The investigation was over. I had found the truth, and it was a monster. The next stage was the confrontation. I didn't know how I'd do it, but I knew one thing with absolute certainty. My life as I knew it was already over. For 2 days, I lived in a fog. I went to work, came home, played with Lily, and sat across the dinner table from my wife. But I was a ghost. I was watching my life happen from a great distance, my mind just consumed by the storm of betrayal, anger, and a deep, profound sadness. Every smile from her felt like a taunt. Every "I love you" felt like a shard of glass. I was carrying this toxic knowledge, this colossal secret, and the weight of it was crushing me. I knew I couldn't live like this. The confrontation had to happen. I needed to hear it from her. I needed to see her face when the lies finally ran out. I planned it with a cold, detached precision that honestly scared me. I waited for a Friday night. I asked my parents to take Lily for a sleepover, telling them Sarah and I needed a rare date night. The irony was bitter enough to make me sick. She got dressed up, putting on a new dress I'd never seen before. She looked beautiful, and the sight of her, so radiant and so deceitful, was like a punch to the gut. We went to a quiet, upscale restaurant, the kind of place we used to go for special occasions. The whole time, she was cheerful and chatty, playing the part of the loving wife on a romantic evening out. I barely spoke, just moving my food around my plate, my stomach in a tight, painful knot. "Are you okay?" she finally asked, her brow furrowed with fake concern. "You've been so quiet all night." That was my opening. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my ears. I looked right at her, and for the first time in days, I let the raw, unfiltered pain show on my face. "I know, Sarah," I said, my voice barely a whisper. Her smile faltered. "You know what?" "I know about Mark." The mask didn't just crack, it shattered. For a split second, I saw pure, unadulterated panic in her eyes. It was the look of a cornered animal. And then, just as quickly, the walls went up. The denial began. It was a masterclass in gaslighting. "Mark, what are you talking about? He's just a friend. You're being paranoid." I just shook my head slowly. "Don't, Sarah, please, just for once, don't lie to me." "I'm not lying. This is insane. Where is this coming from?" she demanded, her voice rising, trying to paint me as the crazy, jealous husband. I reached into my jacket pocket. I had printed out a single page of the phone records, the page from our anniversary. I slid it across the table. "Our anniversary," I said, my voice flat. "While I was at home with Lily waiting to surprise you with dinner, you were on the phone with him for 78 minutes. What did you talk about for 78 minutes, Sarah?" She stared at the paper, her face going pale. The color just drained from her cheeks. She couldn't argue with the data, but she tried. She pivoted. "It's not what you think," she stammered. "He was having a hard time. His marriage, it's not good. I was just being a friend listening." It was almost impressive, the speed at which she built a new lie to patch the hole in the old one. But I was done with lies. "And I suppose you were just being a friend this past Tuesday morning?" I asked, my voice laced with a venom I didn't recognize as my own. "When he texted you about how intoxicating you were, and you replied that it was worth it." That was the final blow. There was no coming back from that. The fight just went out of her. Her shoulders slumped in defeat. She stared down at her hands, unable to meet my eyes. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity, filled only by the distant clinking of glasses and the murmur of other people's happy lives. When she finally looked up, her eyes were filled with tears. But they weren't tears of remorse, not yet. They were the tears of someone who'd been caught. "How did you?" "Lily," I said, and the name just hung in the air between us. "She told me, in the most innocent way possible. She told me Mommy's friend Mark helps with her tummy aches." A sob escaped her lips, a real gut-wrenching sob. At the mention of our daughter, the reality of what she had done, the lives she had fractured, seemed to finally hit her. "How long?" I asked, my voice breaking. 2 years, she whispered. The number was incomprehensible. 2 years, 24 months of a double life. 1,000 lies, big and small. My mind reeled, replaying every holiday, every vacation, every "I love you" from the past 2 years. It was all a lie. Our life was a lie. The drive home was silent. The air in the car was thick with everything that had been said and everything that hadn't. When we walked through the door of our dark, empty house, the reality was suffocating. This wasn't a home anymore. It was a crime scene. She started pleading, begging, saying it was a mistake, that she loved me, that she would end it, that we could fix this. But her words were meaningless. Trust isn't a plate you can glue back together. When it shatters, it turns to dust. Why? I finally asked the question that had been burning a hole in my soul. Wasn't I enough? Wasn't our life enough? Her answer was the final, devastating nail in the coffin of our marriage. "It wasn't about you," she said, crying. "It was about me. I felt invisible. I was just a mom, just a wife. With him, I felt like Sarah again." I looked at the woman I had spent a decade of my life with, the mother of my child, and I felt nothing but a vast, empty abyss. She felt invisible, so she made me a fool. She felt like she was losing herself, so she destroyed me. I need to pause the story here for just a moment. The journey gets darker from this point on, and I want to thank you for listening this far. If my experience resonates with you, please consider liking the video and leaving a comment. Sharing your thoughts helps create a community where none of us have to feel so alone in these struggles. The confrontation was over, but the war was just beginning. The days after the confrontation were a blur of numb logistics and searing pain. The shock gave way to a storm of emotions: anger, grief, humiliation, and a sadness so profound it felt like it was crushing my soul. The house felt contaminated. Every room held a memory that was now tainted. The bed we shared was a battleground. I moved into the guest room, a refugee in my own home. We were like ghosts, circling each other, the silence between us heavier than any argument could ever be. Sarah was a wreck. She bounced between desperate apologies and sullen silence. She swore she had cut off all contact with Mark, that she would do anything to fix us. She suggested therapy, counseling, and a fresh start, but I couldn't even look at her without seeing her lies. For me, trust is a switch. It's either on or off, and she had flipped it, plunging my world into total darkness. The real turning point, the moment that turned this personal tragedy into a legal war, came about a week later. I was trying to piece together the financial side of a separation, which meant looking at credit card statements. As I scrolled through months of charges, a pattern emerged. Regular charges from a specific hotel, the kind of mid-range, anonymous place just off the highway on the other side of town. The charges were always on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons when she was supposedly at the gym. And then I saw it, a charge from a clinic I didn't recognize, Advanced Genetic Services. The charge was from 8 years ago, shortly after Lily was born. A new, colder, more terrifying dread washed over me. Why would she need genetic services? I did a quick search. They specialized in one thing: paternity testing. The floor just dropped out from under me. It was a possibility so monstrous, so world-altering, that my mind physically recoiled from it. Lily, my Lily, her big brown eyes, her goofy laugh, her fierce love for dinosaurs. Was it possible? I felt like I was going to be sick. This wasn't just about infidelity anymore. This was about my entire identity as a father. I immediately contacted a divorce lawyer, a guy highly recommended for his aggressive approach. I sat in his sterile office and laid out the whole sordid story, from Lily's 7 words to the phone records to the clinic charge. My voice was hollow, detached, like I was talking about someone else. He listened patiently, his face unreadable. When I finished, he looked at me and said, "We need to know for sure. I strongly suggest we get a legal paternity test done immediately." A legal test, he explained, involved a strict chain of custody to make the results admissible in court. The next week was the longest of my life. The process was cold and clinical. A stranger came to my home, swabbed the inside of my cheek, then Lily's, all while Sarah watched in horrified silence. Lily thought it was a game. "We're being scientists, Daddy," she chirped, oblivious that this game was about to determine her life and mine. The samples were sealed and sent off. My lawyer said it could take 2 weeks, but we could pay for an expedited service. I paid. I had to know. During that wait, I was a shell of a man. I was consumed by one obsessive thought. At work, I stared at spreadsheets but saw DNA double helices. At night, I'd stand in the doorway of Lily's room and just watch her sleep, my heart a lead weight in my chest. I studied her face, searching for any trace of myself, a fool's errand I had never once thought to do before. Every scenario played out in my head. If she were mine, could I ever forgive Sarah for making me doubt it? And if she was, what then? Who was I? The email from my lawyer arrived on a Wednesday at 10:17 a.m. I saw the subject line, "Regarding your case," and my blood ran cold. I locked my office door, my hands shaking so badly I could barely click the mouse. I opened the attached PDF. It was a sterile, scientific document, full of markers and alleles and terms I didn't understand. But I didn't need to. I only needed to see one line, at the very bottom of the page, next to probability of paternity. The number was 0%. It wasn't a number, it was a void. It was the complete and total annihilation of a decade of my life. The love, the joy, the pride, it all turned to ash in an instant. I wasn't a father. I was a dupe, a placeholder, a 10-year-long lie. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at the screen as a terrifying calm washed over me. The grief and sadness were burned away, replaced by something cold, hard, and absolute. The kind of clarity that only comes after total devastation. Sarah hadn't just cheated on me, She had committed the ultimate betrayal. She had stolen my fatherhood. She had let me love a child that was not mine, knowing the truth the whole time. The paternity test from 8 years ago proved it. She had known from the beginning. My lawyer called it paternity fraud. In that moment, any thought of reconciliation or forgiveness evaporated. This was no longer a divorce. This was a demolition. I picked up the phone and called my lawyer. "I just got the results," I said, my voice eerily steady. "It's 0%. I want you to go nuclear. No mercy." The moment I said, "Go nuclear," a different kind of war began. The emotional battlefield of our home was replaced by the cold, calculated theater of the legal system. This wasn't about hurt feelings anymore. It was about justice, consequences, and the systematic dismantling of a life built on lies. Armed with the paternity test, my lawyer moved with brutal efficiency. The charge of adultery was now supercharged with paternity fraud. My lawyer explained that while infidelity might not drastically alter financial settlements in our state, this level of deception could be seen by a judge as an egregious factor, especially concerning our assets. When Sarah was served the divorce papers, which spelled out our intent to prove she knowingly misrepresented Lily's paternity, her world imploded. The pleading, tearful woman was replaced by someone I'd never seen before. Someone cornered, desperate, and vicious. She hired her own lawyer, and the battle lines were drawn. Her first move was to deny everything. Her lawyer claimed the affair was recent and that she genuinely believed I was Lily's father. The DNA test from 8 years ago, they claimed she took it because of postpartum anxiety and a fleeting, irrational fear, but never looked at the results because she was too scared. It was a paper-thin lie. My lawyer was ready. We subpoenaed the records from the genetics company. Not only did they have the original 0% result, but they also had digital records showing the results had been accessed from an IP address linked to our home a dozen times in the month after the test. The lie crumbled to dust. The discovery process was like digging up the bones of her secret life. We subpoenaed bank records, credit card statements, and marks as well. We found a hidden joint bank account they had opened together. It turned out she'd been siphoning money from our joint savings, a few $100s here and there, to fund their affair. She had used our family's money for hotels, dinners, and a yoga retreat that was actually a weekend getaway with him. In the eyes of the court, this was a dissipation of marital assets. The most painful part, of course, was everything involving Lily. Sarah fought to keep the paternity issue sealed, arguing it would be harmful to Lily. My lawyer argued that the fraud was so central to the case that it was impossible to ignore. A judge would have to decide. The legal battle dragged on for months. It was a grueling, soul-crushing process that drained my finances and my spirit. I saw friends take sides. My own parents, who had adored Sarah, were heartbroken and confused. The fallout rippled through every single part of my life. And the biggest question was Lily. What would happen to her, to us? My lawyer was blunt. Legally, in this state, he explained, a 0% paternity result, especially with fraud involved, means you have no biological claim. You are not the legal father. The words were clinical, but they hit me like a punch. I had no rights. I confronted Mark only once, when my lawyer subpoenaed him for a deposition. I insisted on being there. He walked in, tan and confident, but his composure crumbled when he saw me. He was a coward. He tried to minimize everything, painting himself as some passive participant seduced by a lonely housewife. I sat there silently as my lawyer dismantled him, question by question, using his own bank records and text messages. By the end, he was a stammering, sweating mess. A hollow, selfish man who had helped destroy my life for his own pleasure. Seeing him reduced to that didn't bring me any satisfaction. It just made the whole thing feel even more cheap and worthless. Throughout this, I had to keep living in the same house with Sarah. A court order kept the status quo until a settlement was reached. We were prisoners of war in a shared cell, the air thick with hatred. But in the evenings, I still had Lily. I'd read her bedtime stories and listen to her chatter about school. In those moments, the legal realities would fade away. There was just this little girl I had raised and loved with every fiber of my being. She'd hug me and say, "I love you, Daddy." And the pain was almost unbearable. Because I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that a judge's gavel was about to fall, and I was going to lose her too. The final court date was a gray, overcast day that matched my mood perfectly. The judge, a stern-faced woman who'd seen it all, had reviewed the mountain of evidence: the phone records, the financial statements, and the 2 DNA tests. Sarah's defense was in shambles. The evidence of her calculated deceit was irrefutable. The judge's ruling was swift and severe. Citing the egregious nature of the paternity fraud and the financial misconduct, the asset division was heavily weighted in my favor. I was awarded the house and a much larger portion of our savings to compensate for the money she'd squandered. Because of her deception, she was granted minimal alimony for a very short time. It was a financial devastation for her. Then came the part I was dreading, Lily. The judge looked at me, her expression softening for the first time with something like pity. She stated what my lawyer had prepared me for. Based on the DNA evidence and state law, I had no legal parental rights. I was not Lily's father. Custody was awarded solely to Sarah. Mark, it turned out, wanted nothing to do with being a father, leaving Sarah to face the consequences alone. I was allowed a 90-day transition period of visitation, after which my legal right to see Lily would be terminated. The courtroom felt like it was tilting. I had won the battle, but lost the only thing that truly mattered. Those weeks were the darkest of my life. I moved into the house, my house, and Sarah and Lily moved into a small apartment. The silence was deafening. The rooms, once filled with Lily's laughter, were just empty and hollow. I'd walk into her bedroom and be overwhelmed by grief. It was a loss more profound than the divorce. It was the death of my identity as a father. I fell into a deep depression. For weeks, I just existed. I went to work, came home, and drank until I could fall asleep. The world had lost its color. The turning point came one Saturday during my visitation. I took Lily to the park. She was quiet, old enough to sense the sadness, even if she didn't understand it. We were sitting on a bench when she looked up at me and asked, "Are you mad at me, Daddy?" Her question pierced right through the fog of my pain. I knelt in front of her and pulled her into a hug. "No, sweetie, never. I could never be mad at you. I love you more than anything." In that moment, I realized something. Legal documents and DNA tests couldn't erase 7 years of love. A judge could sever my rights, but not the bond forged in thousands of bedtime stories and scraped knees. I was her father in every way that mattered, and my own healing depended on holding onto that love, not letting Sarah's betrayal poison it. I started going to therapy. It was brutal. I had to unpack a decade of lies. I had to grieve the loss of my marriage, the future I thought I had, and the loss of a child who was still alive but no longer legally mine. My therapist helped me see that my future didn't have to be defined by this. My 90-day visitation period came to an end. That last day was agonizing. How do you say goodbye to your own child? I just hugged her tight and told her I would always love her, no matter what. But I didn't give up. I spoke to Sarah, not as a bitter ex-husband, but as a man who loved Lily. I told her that whatever happened between us, Lily deserved to have me in her life. Surprisingly, with her life in disarray, she agreed. We worked out an informal arrangement. No courts, no lawyers, just an agreement that I could see Lily on weekends. It's been 3 years now. It isn't the life I imagined, but it's a life I'm slowly rebuilding. The house is just my home now. I've started dating again, cautiously. The scars are still there, a permanent reminder of what happened. My relationship with Lily is different, but it's strong. I'm no longer just daddy. As she gets older, she's starting to understand the complexities. The whole truth will have to be told one day, but for now, she knows she has a mom in one house and a man who loves her unconditionally in another. I learned that betrayal doesn't just steal your past, it tries to steal your future. Healing wasn't about forgetting. It was about accepting what happened and refusing to let it be the end of my story. It was about understanding that even when a lie shatters your world, the love you gave was real. The father I was to Lily was real. And that's something no court, no liar, and no betrayal can ever take away. This was, without a doubt, the most painful journey of my life. I know I'm not the only one who has had their world turned upside down by betrayal. It's a lonely, isolating experience. If my story resonated with you, or if you've been through something similar, I'd be grateful if you'd share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done in my situation? Your stories and perspectives matter. And if you found value in this story and want to hear more personal narratives like it, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps more than you know. Thank you for listening to my story. The path to healing is long, and it isn't a straight line. There are good days and bad days. But I've learned that even after the most devastating losses, there is still a future waiting for you. It might not be the one you planned, but you have the strength to build it. You just have to take it one day at a time. Thanks for being here.